If you're a fan of the New York Yankees or the Laracuente Ledger Network, then you know that famous tune means it's time for another installment of the Pinstripe Plunge Report. But this week we're going to do things a little bit differently. At the end of last week's episode, we spoke about umpires and some of the poor decisions that they've been making. So we're going to take a look at one of the proposed rules changes from Major League Baseball, and that's the electronic strike zone. So let's get to it, baseball fans. Now, when it comes to the strike zone, Major League Baseball umpires all say the same thing. It's their zone. It's the way they interpret what each player's stance is in the box. But when you look at Major League Baseball's rulebook, as you can see in the picture, the strike zone is said to be behind the hollow of the kneecap all the way to a midpoint between the shoulder and the top of the pants for the player. That's the strike zone. And yet we constantly see players struck out looking on pitches that are absolutely low, high, in, and out. The player that this most negatively affects is Aaron Judge. And as Yankee fans, we've seen it time and time again, the constant low strikes. And as you can see in the video that I have playing here, Aaron Judge is constantly getting strikes called against him that are low and out of the zone. But because Major League Baseball umpires are unable to understand that a player of his size, the strike zone's a little bit different. They're calling those low strikes, and they're not actually strikes. They're balls clearly. And this is where an electronic strike zone can really benefit a player like Aaron Judge. And for me, I think it will benefit everyone. When examining the strike zones between a guy like Aaron Judge and a guy like Jose Altuve, it's a very different strike zone. There's a huge gap in between what these players are going to give you. When you think about, I have Tony Gwynn sitting right here. When you think about what Tony Gwynn was able to do, he's able to cover the entire zone. But he also had a stance that kind of limited that strike zone. We saw the same thing out of Ricky Henderson. Ricky Henderson had a very small strike zone, so of course he was going to get a lot of balls called against him. He was able to work walks because Ricky wanted to get on base. Now, when you look at specifically these strikes called against Aaron Judge, they're all at the shins for a 6'7" giant like Aaron Judge. But for most other people, that would be at the hollow of the knee. When you take an electronic strike zone, it measures out the box the way that it's supposed to. So the strike zone that it's supposed to be is what it will be. Yes, Major League Baseball umpires will then be subject to having to just call whatever is electronically relayed to them. There can be issues. As we know with technology, sometimes things don't work out. Like last week's episode, it didn't kind of go the way we intended it to go. When you take the fact that we are human beings and we make errors, umpires are going to be the same way. They're not going to be 100% perfect. And there's already a way that we know that this is working because umpires are being graded on the pitches that they call game in and game out. We as fans just have no clue what those repercussions are for failing those tests. Each and every night that an umpire stands behind home plate, he is subject to calling the right pitches. The problem is that there seems to be no accountability. MLB has to make these umpires accountable for these terrible calls. Until that happens, we will continue to see that low strike called against Aaron Judge. I'm a big proponent for this electronic strike zone. I think when you look at the results, players obviously are not the size of Aaron Judge in those independent leagues, but you're able to get a more accurate depiction of what the strike zone is supposed to be. So if we can get a rule change like this, if we can get this implemented into Major League Baseball, I think that it will be beneficial to all players, not just the 6'7" Aaron Judge. But as we know, Major League Baseball is kind of slow to get these changes into effect. That's why they're testing it out in the independent leagues. If we get an electronic strike zone in Major League Baseball in 2020, I guarantee you Aaron Judge will put up another 50 home run season because all these balls that are being called against him, he's going to be able to take because he has a very good eye at the plate. And that will allow Judge to be able to control the strike zone even better than he already does. And pitchers will have to give him pitches to hit. And that's where he is at his most dangerous. That's where all hitters are at their most dangerous, when they are able to swing at pitches in the zone instead of having to try to defend one umpire who's going to call the strike zone high, another who's going to call it low, one who's giving 5 inches to the left side but calling 3 inches in on the right side. This is where the electronic strike zone will completely wash away all of that. Everyone's zone will be what it's supposed to be, and based on the player, based on the height and the size of the zone that they're supposed to have. This is where the electronic strike zone will be far superior to any home plate umpire that we have now. Yes, there are some very good home plate umpires that call it exactly the way that it is supposed to be. But If we can get it right 100% of the time instead of 90% of the time, why wouldn't we do it? But I want to hear from you guys out there. Comment down below. What do you think of the idea of an electronic strike zone in Major League Baseball? If you love it, tell me why. If you don't, let me know. So as we wrap up, again, you always want to make sure you stay tuned here to the Laracuente Ledger Network. Hit the subscribe button and the bell to stay notified of all of our new videos and content. When you subscribe, send us an email at contact@laracuenteledger.com so that you can be added to that subscribers only list. As I keep telling you, we have some subscriber exclusives coming. So make sure that you be a part of that exclusive club here from the Laracuente Ledger Network. Check us out tomorrow for an episode of The Sea of Music with Chris Grant Jr. Wednesday, you know that tag team of The Basement with Zach and Talk About It last Tuesday with Alec Pangea. Then we have the rock stars of the channel, Nadi and Nani, on Thursday. And we round out with the A&J Double Play on Friday. So once again, if you're in favor for the electronic strike zone, let us know. If you're opposed, tell me why. So thank you for tuning in to this installment of the Pinstripe Plunge Report, and let's go Yankees.